everyone, so I'm here to talk to you about what it really takes to build a successful business. So who am I? Well, I'm Becky. I'm founder and CEO at Reflect Digital, and we are a digital agency here to unleash your potential. So our mission is to unleash potential, and we do this by combining the power of behavioural science with the art of marketing. Sounds fun, doesn't it? I've been running the business now for 13 years. And we employ 35 people across the UK, and it started literally with just me. We've scaled from 0 to over 2.6 million in revenue. So I'm going to talk to you about what it takes, because I have been on that journey. I was that young person with an ambition and drive to want to build my own company. Wasn't really sure how I was going to do it, but one day had to take that leap. And here we are now with a successful company with lots of people employed doing what I love every day. And I think that's the key to it. You've got to do something you love. So what does it take? Well, it takes passion. You've got to love what you do. You've got to want to talk to anybody about it, everybody about it. You've got to want to get up at 5 in the morning if you've got to get up at 5 in the morning. You've got to work your weekends if you've got to work your weekends. Like, it's whatever it takes. And to do that, in my opinion, you've got to be passionate. You've got to have that drive, like they go hand in hand. So that drive to push yourself when you need to, when you have to go over and above, when you have to do more than, I can remember the days as we were building the business, and it still happens now, where we've got a big pitch coming up and I've got friends doing something that sounds great at the weekend, and you can't do it because you've got to have the focus, because you've got to have that drive to want to achieve. It doesn't just happen overnight, and it doesn't happen in 9 to 5, sadly. So there will be a reality check in this talk, but this isn't to put you off, because all of these things I love and I wouldn't change. It's also that commitment, that wanting to be there, to go the extra mile, to push yourself. An awesome team. So on day one, it was just me, and I had to still surround myself with good people to help kind of want to drive, and I had people that I could use as freelancers, etc., because on day one I couldn't offer all the services that we were offering myself, so I needed to find people. But then over time, as we were able to turn over more money, it made sense that I could hire more people, and that team is absolutely everything. Like, finding the right people that buy into what it is that you're trying to do, that believe in what you're trying to do, that love it. They'll never quite love it as much as you do, and that's fine, and that's understandable, but they do love it and they believe in it, and they're there to put their effort in, and they're rowing in the same direction that you are. The ability to problem solve. So this is one of the things, when I think back to when I was at school and I was studying, how important those skills are, that curiosity and that digging deeper and that problem solving ability, that I don't think always got enough airtime from teachers of how important that was going to be in your future career. And every day I'm solving problems. That's a big part of my job. Like, I try and encourage the team to solve problems as well, and the team are great at it, but sometimes problems land on my doorstep and it's like, oh, okay, not done this one before. And it just keeps happening as you grow. The problems often stay the same, but they scale and they become slightly different, and they're the same across lots of different businesses. So one of my favourite things that we do now is we network with a lot of other businesses, and a lot of other businesses like ours, and it's amazing when you get the ability and opportunity to talk to other businesses that are kind of your competitors, but actually that you're all trying to do the same thing, you're all struggling, you're all constantly having to solve these problems, and actually it just makes you feel a little bit better sometimes. To be creative, and that's not creative as in necessarily being able to design something on screen, or to be crafty, or to be able to draw. I'm not creative in any sense at all, but I'm creative in how we solve problems, creative in ideas, and then I've got amazing people that can bring that to life. So even, obviously, our business has quite a creative string to it. You might be thinking of wanting to run a business that doesn't have that, but you still need that creativity to look at problems differently. Dare I say it, to do the kind of thinking outside the box view on what it is that you're trying to achieve. You also have to be willing to get your hands dirty. Now, it's really important as you grow a business and you start to bring in more people and you start to put in more layers, that you don't suddenly see yourself as this layer that, well, I'm not doing that, I don't have to do that anymore. It's my job to do everything and anything that I can to support the business and support the team, and for them to know that I'm willing to get my hands dirty and regularly doing so, although it's not always the best use of my time. But it's really important just from a morale point of view. I've worked in businesses before where very much that top layer felt very of their own level and wouldn't come down to your level to help you, which isn't very motivating. So for me, I find it really motivating, and I feel the team gets a lot from it, that I'm willing to support them. So we're in the top 1% of agencies. So first of all, I'm just going to make sure everyone knows what an agency is. So as an agency, we offer services around marketing, so search engine optimization, paid media, etc. All these services that help our clients be found online, help them find the audiences that they're looking to find, help inspire them to want to buy their products, buy their services, whatever it may be. And an agency is just an outsourced marketing team, basically. So some businesses will have internal teams, but those teams will still sometimes use agencies because they want to get the creativity, the new ideas, etc. Sometimes they'll build out just in-house teams and they'll just work in-house. Sometimes they'll have literally only one person and then everything else is done by agencies, and sometimes multiple agencies. So there's lots of different guises, but we have clients and brands that buy our time basically for different services to help them achieve their goals. And we sit in the top 1%. And well, what makes us the top 1%? Well, as soon as we pass that £1 million turnover mark, we hit the top 1%, because there's actually, in this country, there's 99% of agencies are small micro agencies. There may be 1, 2, 3 people. They're not large at all. So as soon as you're in that top bracket, we're in quite a small company, which it doesn't feel like that actually when you look around at all our competitors, etc. But it just shows the scale of the size of our industry. And one of the things that's different about us is we try and challenge the norm. Lots of agencies do try as well. We're all pushing to be a bit different, and we're not your corporate. If you were, I don't know, thinking about working in a law firm or an agency, they're very, very different environments. But we challenged the norm, and one of the ways that we did this back in 2018 was we brought our 4-day week in. See how I've probably grabbed all of your attention there, because it sounds great, doesn't it? Imagine just school 4 days a week. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? But yeah, we've been doing this since 2018, so we were quite pioneering in making that shift. More businesses have started to move that way during the pandemic, since the pandemic. But it's just that ability to look at, well, could we do our business differently? And the big questions we had to ask ourselves at the time was, how are we going to still service our clients? How are we going to make that work? But I always take the view of, well, it's never an immediate no. Well, why not? Let's try and find the way to make it work. And we did, and we still successfully have a 4-day week in our business. So I thought I'd just share with you 5 common startup mistakes that I see. So these are things to be thinking about if you're thinking about running your own business. So this, I've got the image there of the tightrope, and it still feels this way. Even as you're growing, you get to a point where you're like, oh, we could hire, but have we got enough revenue? So it's walking that tightrope of when to bring people in. And as I say, this challenge will keep coming round and round again. So although it feels hardest and most risky when you're really small, because you're not used to having more revenue coming in. So the thought of committing that you're going to pay someone's salary feels really big. But it's really tricky if you don't do it soon enough and you don't have that support and those people to help deliver on your promises, what you're going out and selling to clients, etc. And you don't have them also giving you ideas into what you're promising clients. It can be really tricky, because freelancers are great, but they're only committed for what you're paying them for, and if you've only bought a few hours and you need more of their time, etc., it becomes quite unscalable sometimes. So making sure that you bring people in at the right time, and there is a risk factor. Like, if you're thinking of running a business, it's this constant risk reward that you're having to weigh up. You then also have not having a clear proposition, so not knowing what it is that you really stand for. And it can be really difficult to differentiate, because I'm sure there will be brand new businesses being formed that have done something that no one's ever done before, but that's pretty rare. Most businesses are a version of something that already exists with their own kind of take on it. And some of them, the ones that maybe don't make it, are the ones where they are just a copy almost of what other people are doing. So it's trying to have your clear proposition. So for example, ours has developed into being around human behaviour, and since we had the human behaviour messaging, it's made it much easier to sell us as a company to our clients as to why we're different. Previous to that, we struggled a little bit, so actually we probably didn't have our proposition as clear as it could have been. Not having clarity on the numbers. So I don't spend my life in numbers and spreadsheets, but I do have to understand them, and I do have to understand what they mean for us. So working with a really good accountancy firm that can help you understand what the numbers mean, and when you're making profit, what needs to get paid for tax, etc., and how when you're paying staff that works, and PAYE and all these different things that have to get paid, that's really important. But also knowing your numbers. So one of the ways we like to look at things is the difference between leading indicators and lagging indicators. So a lagging indicator would just be, we had this target, did we hit it or not? Well, you're looking at that at the end point of, well, we wanted to hit £100,000 and we didn't. And at that point you can't change it. But your leading indicator might be, well, we know that we need 10 leads to generate a sale. So how many leads have we got this month? And then you start to look at that and you go, well, actually halfway through the month, well, we've only got 5 leads. So, well, based on our numbers, we're not sure we're going to actually hit that. So those leading indicators really help you to know what's likely to happen. So being able to understand your numbers is really important. Not valuing your services. So it's really hard when you're small. I think I probably spent the first few years almost apologising. Oh, we're only young, we're only a new business, we're only small. And you almost kind of put yourself down, and you really shouldn't. It's really difficult to do, because you do feel that maybe you're not as valuable as some of the bigger competitors you might have out there. But you're planting the wrong seeds with your clients and potential people that might be buying your services. So you really need to value your services. You need to know where your price point should be and where it shouldn't be. Because yeah, we definitely used to charge less, and over the years have been able to grow to charge more, which is great. But there were points there where maybe we could have made the leap to charge more earlier, but we weren't really valuing ourselves enough. So really important to understand what it looks like. It's very different from moving from being a freelancer where you're just paying for your time on the hourly basis to thinking about, well, they're buying from a company now, and I need to consider what that means. Not having an experienced advisor as well. So in the early days, we were really lucky because my parents invested in the business, and my dad was a really experienced business person, but he wasn't in the agency world. He didn't really know our world well enough. So he was a great advisor on a lot of things. But in the early days, we really lacked someone that knew how to do it really well from an agency perspective. And my background had been working for 2 or 3 years in agencies, but just as an account manager working with clients. So there was so much I didn't know. And I was blown away. About maybe 4 or 5 years into our journey, we found a networking group for agencies. And it was a real turning point for us, because it meant that we met more agencies that were willing to be open and to share, but we also met some really good advisors. We were able to bring advisors into the business. We actually changed our accountancy firm to be an accountancy firm that specialised in agencies, because they added so much value. So trying to find people that really have experience in what you're trying to do is so valuable. So some top tips for you. Have fun. Like, I think sometimes when I talk to students, as I say, like, oh, the work doesn't sound like fun. Like, it should be fun. It's really important that it's fun, because you spend most of your life at work. You've got to enjoy it. So you don't want to create something that isn't fun for you or for the team around you. Think differently, as I said earlier, the outside the box kind of thinking. I know it sounds cliche, but you've got to be able to put different hats on and see things from different perspectives. And that gets easier the more perspectives you get to take on from other people. So actually, the more we've been able to work with different advisors has really helped me to learn, oh, okay, I see, they went and looked at it from this side, I was over here, and now I can move my thinking better than I used to be able to. So really being able to kind of analyse what it is that you're trying to understand is important. Get your ducks in a row early. So as you scale, especially if you start to scale quickly, process and things that were really easy to do when it was just you and maybe two other people becomes harder. And actually, if you haven't really thought about what the process is, it becomes really difficult to onboard people, because they join and they're like, okay, cool, so how do I do this? And you're like, oh, well, I don't know, I just get it done. And there isn't a clear way of doing things. So the earlier that you, and especially in the earlier days, you seem to have a bit more time as well, the earlier you can start to document process, so that you can think about, well, actually, if I did have to hand this over to somebody else, how would I tell them how to do it? Rather than being in the moment of, we're now really busy, I'm asking someone to help me, but I'm actually not being that helpful because they can't do it because I don't know how to brief them properly. So getting that kind of structure right early is really important. Cash flow's hard. You need to have a plan around this. So this was something that actually was just news to me when I started the business. I'd always been sheltered from this in the jobs that I'd had before. We'd always have a finance department, and I never got involved in whether clients were paying or not paying. I soon realised that as much as you put a date on an invoice of when it's due to be paid, clients don't always pay, and they have the intentions to pay, but they don't pay on time. And that's great if you're a massive business with tons of cash in the bank. But when you're a small business with no cash in the bank, you're waiting for those payments to be able to pay your freelancers, your staff, your office costs, whatever it might be. So that was a shock to me, actually, because just naively I didn't know. I'd not been in that scenario. So understanding what cash flow looks like and thinking about that in how you charge clients and when you charge clients, things like being able to put clients on direct debit's an amazing thing, because then you know it is going to get paid on a set date. Some clients will be resistant to that because they'll like not having it on direct debit. But yeah, it's just one of those things that I always think it's interesting to tell people about, because yeah, I had no idea. Differentiate yourself. So this is similar with the proposition side of things. Like, how is your business different? How's your approach different? How do you stand out from the crowd? This was an interesting lesson that I learned, probably in one of our tough points of growth. So you have these kind of ups and downs. I always say it's like a roller coaster running a business. Like, you're up here and then you're back down and then you're back up again. But someone said to me once, so we were having quite a tricky time and it was feeling really stressful, and we didn't really want the team to feel that stress or know that stress, but they seemed to. And I was like, I don't really understand. And one of the advisors we were working with said, well, you set the weather in the business. Like, you, and this is maybe slightly different in a more modern business where not everyone's based in the office so much, but in an office environment, whoever the leaders in that business are, or the big characters in that business, they set the weather. If you come in a bad mood, other people are going to be like, oh, okay, I feel in a bit of a bad mood now. So really thinking about how you portray yourself in front of your team is really, really important. You have to practice what you preach. So if you say it's important to get out there and be on stage, for example, in this photo, then you've got to get out there and be on stage. It depends, whatever it is that you're saying is important, you've got to be one that's showing that you believe in it too and that you're willing to do it as well. Create a culture that others want to emulate. So for us, things like the 4-day week were amazing, but then other agencies wanted to do the same thing, and I was like, cool, yeah, you can go for it. I mean, not that I have to give you permission, but we actually ended up having agencies and businesses reaching out to us wanting to consult on, well, how do we do the 4-day week? I mean, it's literally probably in the hundreds over the last 5-6 years, the amount of conversations I've had advising other businesses on how we made the 4-day week work. So when you create somewhere that's really special, others will want to copy it, and you know, that's all right. You just do you though. You have it the way that works for your business. Agree on shared values, so making sure that you've got really clear values that everyone in the business understands, believes in, that are clear, that they're in line with their own values is really important. If you've got people that are very different, although you want a bit of difference in the business and variety and all those good things, you need to all believe at the core that the same things are true. So for example, in our business, we have family as a value. So this is not a family as in a mum and dad kind of family and somewhere where someone's going to hold your hand all the time. It's more in a supportive but feedback driven environment. So trying to make sure that each of us are really pushing the other to be the best they possibly can be. But knowing that everyone's there for you at the end of the day, It's hard work working in an agency. There's often tight deadlines, there's lots to do. So knowing that you've got a supportive network around you is really, really great. We also have love our craft. So in our space, in the digital world, things move quickly. They really do. Something that was the right thing to do yesterday suddenly might not be the right thing to do, or a new social network looks like it's been launched, or there's new functionality on Google. I don't know. There's so many different things. So if people don't love their craft, they don't want to learn about these things, they don't want to be reading up on them, they don't find that interesting, they tend to get left behind, and they probably don't suit our business, because we need people that are pushing at the forefront of the industry. And then finally, going for gold. Our clients pay us to deliver results. We are a performance-based business, so we need to always be going for gold. Now, you won't always achieve gold. That's true of everything in life. We can't always be the best. But as long as we've put our best foot forward and our plans are in the right direction, and that was our ambition and where we were going for, and we're measuring it all and we can understand maybe where it didn't work, then our clients will be really happy that we're still always pushing forward. So once you've got values, you have to hire on these and fire on these. If someone doesn't fit the mold, if they don't actually live that value as true at their core, they can't fit in the business. And that sounds quite harsh, but it doesn't work. So your clients are, as you scale, when you're small, you've got all the interactions with the clients probably, you're managing everything, so you can kind of look after everything. As soon as you're growing, you need to trust these people to do things how you expect them to be done, but with their own flair and their own knowledge and all those reasons that you've hired them. But you need the core to stay the same, so you must be able to hire and fire on them. You've got to have a clear vision. You need to know where you're going. We're just at the moment actually writing our 2026 vision, so 3-year vision. I'm really excited, going to be sharing it with our team soon. But you've got to have a clear vision. You've got to know what it looks like. What are you rowing towards? And actually, we've probably at points not had a clear enough vision, and you can then see that in the team not quite knowing, well, I don't know what going for gold looks like overall because I don't understand it. So you've got to have that clear vision. So this is our vision. So our purpose is to create a great company that helps people and organisations grow. And then our mission is to unleash potential by combining the power of behavioural science with the art of marketing. And then we also look at what that looks like for others. So for our team, it's empowering them to do the best work of their careers. For our clients, it's empowering them to achieve their business goals. And for our industry, it's inspiring our future digital leaders, which is what this talks about. You've got to get buy-in from the team though. You need to make sure that it's not just your vision and everyone thinks you're a bit crazy. You need to make sure that they're with you on it and that they believe in it too, and you've had their feedback in helping create it. And then you have to be open to feedback. To create a feedback culture, you need to have a place where people can give you feedback. It's the only way we grow, and it's really, really important. And I think some people, it scares them. I think people, when they hear the word feedback, assume it's going to be negative. Like, it's not always. It's more often constructive or good feedback, but really important that we're open to feedback. You've got to look after yourself. Really, really key. It's your health, your ability to be your best at work. So finding out what looks good for you in your week and the makeup of your week. So I know working out is really important to me. If I don't get to put those sessions in, I know that my focus will suffer and my happiness will suffer. So doing what's right for you. Be your favourite boss. Now, this is one I always say it's really important to have worked in a company before you run a company. Some people are super ambitious and want to get straight out there and just want to go and start their own company. But I think having had that experience, I've got in my head very clearly my best ever boss and my not so good boss. Worst ever boss, maybe. And it is those two examples that help me know how to lead, because I can think, well, what would my best boss have done and what would my worst boss have done? And obviously I lean much more towards my best boss, but it is that worst boss that helps me to understand what was demotivating, what I didn't like, what made me want to leave a company, etc. If you've never had that experience, it's hard to be able to picture that. Focus on your best you. So what makes you the best version of yourself, and how can you make sure you keep bringing that every day? Work with specialists, so I've touched on that throughout, but finding those people that actually understand what it is that you're trying to do, and understand the space you're in, because industries do vary, and therefore what's important in one is not so important in another. Continue to learn. We've never finished learning. There's always more learning to be had, and you've got to keep that open mind to keep learning and find the opportunities to learn, and time to reflect on that as well. Surround yourself with good people, so be that in your team, be that in your network, be that in your friendship group. It's a hard thing. Not everyone understands how hard it is growing a business, and I definitely had friends that were more supportive and those that weren't, and I just gravitated more to those that supported me more through the earlier years when it was maybe tougher. I say tougher, the toughness just changes, and therefore changes how you feel about it over time, but you've got to be surrounded by people that believe in you, believe in what you're trying to do. And remember the power of thank you. Thank you goes such a long way, and actually through my network and how I've been able to build a community around our business, we've got so many people that are willing to just help us, and the power of thank you is so important. So remembering to thank your staff, thank those that support you, help you get to where you're going, and just give you those little bits of advice now and then. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you. I hope this has been useful. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your feedback. Also love to hear about your journey and anything that we might be able to do to support you. And I hope you enjoy the rest of Aspiration Digital, and look forward to connecting soon.